guys, welcome to Fashion Fuse, where we share our views on fashion. My name is Nabila Milisha and I'm your host. Today we have a wonderful guest, designer to designer. Her name is Lauren.
Hi guys.
From Obviously Vintage.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous trying to get the nerves off, but it's okay. It's all right. Like, we're feeding off each other's energy and it's all positive energy, but I am so thankful to be here. Thank you for having me. This is my first time ever doing a podcast, so I'm very grateful and thankful. So I'm just ready for us to get into it.
I'm so grateful for you being open,
you.
to share your story, because you could have shared it with anybody else, but you said yes to me.
Yeah.
So that's always an honor.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
I want to start with, what are you wearing today?
Oh.
So I'll say with me, I am wearing a jumpsuit. I'll just give a little spin.
Model,
so it's like a little, a little triangle peephole right there on both sides and the sleeves. And I chose this outfit to wear with you today because it's like maybe the sleeves will give something that is like old school. I don't know. But let's talk about your outfit.
Okay, so this is an Obviously Vintage original piece. This is a jumpsuit, like a workman's jumper. It's very comfortable. It's made with recycled fabrics, and I have my logo embroidered on the pockets. This is a line that I just dropped 2 weeks ago with Shein X, so I'm very excited about it. I always wanted to make a workman's jumper because it's very popular now and it's been around for so long. So with Obviously Vintage, it's like I recreate pieces that's like a statement, like body or silhouette. So like I thought it was only perfect to have a workman's jumper or a boiler for one of my pieces. So that's what I'm wearing.
Beautiful. I love the color. I love the fit of it.
Thank you.
The whole piece
Thank
is
you.
giving.
And
I am absolutely a fan of the jumpers.
Yes.
So what made you choose this particular color? Does it come in multiple colors or?
It only comes in one color. That's the thing, when I produced on Shein, we only do like one color for each style. But I chose this color because I felt like it was very universal. Like you can wear it in all seasons almost. Like I feel like this green is perfect for fall. It's perfect for pre-spring, because pre-spring it still has like darker colors. It's not as bright, but when you get into spring 1 and 2, that's when it gets like a little brighter. And then fall comes back around. In summer, I feel like it's a little too dark for summer, but if you put a pop of color, like I put this green bag with it just to give it a pop. So if you have accessories that'll bring it out, that'll make it, more versatile too. Right. But I just love this color. It looks good on our skin, on our melanin, it looks really good on us. So it complements us very well, and it's not too distracting of a color. So it's very like subtle.
It's very subtle, but so fresh at the very same time. So I love that. Let's talk
you.
about Obviously Vintage, which is your brand.
Yes.
How did you get started, and how did you come up with the name?
Okay, so I actually started as a fashion illustrator. So I was designing for other up-and-coming designers. So I love to draw. I was an artist first. Actually, before I even started fashion illustrations, I was just drawing like portraits of people, landscapes. Like I was really big on art, or visual arts. And then I saw the show Project Runway, and I was like, oh, these people are turning their art into wearable fashion and clothes. And I was like, I kind of like that. So I went to the Art Institute of Raleigh-Durham. It's a fashion program there, and I got my bachelor's degree, and I decided to move out of North Carolina. That's where I'm from. And I was like, I need to go to a city that's like, big on fashion. You would think I would go to New York first, but I'm a country girl, so it was too much for me. I was like, no, my family's actually from New York, but when I go visit, I always get like anxiety. It's too much, it's too fast paced. So I looked into Atlanta, and I thought, okay, Atlanta is like a good first like start for me to build my brand and for me to get out there in the fashion industry, because it was slowly rising. So then once I moved to Atlanta, I started thinking of names, like, because I wanted to have my own brand, because I've always designed for others. So I was like, okay, it's time for me to have my own brand. And I thrifted a lot of clothes and stuff, so at first I didn't know what my name would be, but then like when I would see people out on the street and I would recognize that they were wearing a vintage piece, I'm like, oh my god, that's a vintage Chanel, obviously. And then I was like, okay, I kind of like how that sounds. So at first it was like vintage, obviously, and then I was like, nah, that doesn't sound good at all. But then I switched the words around and said, obviously vintage. So I was like, it's vintage, obviously, or it's obviously vintage. Duh. Yeah. And then I just abbreviated it as OV. So a lot of people say, oh, that's OV, and I liked that, ring of it too. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. Okay, got a little abbreviation to the name. So that's how the name came about, and I just started doing like a lot of upcycling with my pieces, a lot of one-of-one pieces and custom pieces. I used to work for Rashida Frost at her store, and I did some upcycled pieces for her and sold it at her store, and they sold really well. And then I actually started doing like mass producing some of my pieces and had them in her store as well. And then I was like, okay, I just want to do this for me now. Like I want to make sure my brand is like only my face is like showing up and nobody else's. So then I put on my first fashion show during the pandemic, like during 2020 where life was crazy. I'm like, I want to have a fashion show. And I did it. It was successful, and then it just kept going. Like that's how she was born.
Right. So on the brink of success, let's make a toast to successful podcast, successful collections, and whatever else life and God has to offer us.
I love it.
Well, you do the honors.
Oh, let's see if I can do this. All right. Cheers.
Cheers to success, life, happiness, whatever else God wants us to have, we will have.
Amen.
Would you like to add anything to it?
Health, mental health. I'm big on mental health, so God just blessing us with our mental state and our physical state, and just continuing for us to take risks, for us to continuing to do what people say we can't do, but we're just doing it, and we're just living life and making sure that we're doing what we love to do. So, and not being scared to take chances.
Yes,
so
that's most important.
Yes, more life. Oh, that's good. Nice and crisp. I love that. I love a good bubbly.
Yeah.
All right.
2020, you had this fantastic idea to do a fashion show.
Yes.
Where did the idea come from? Was it just like random? One day you woke up and...
I feel like I've always wanted to do it, but I was too scared. Okay. So that's why I said earlier, like just taking risks. I took a risk to move to Atlanta, so I'm like, why not take a risk to, have a fashion show? So the name of the fashion show was Now or Never, because if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. So I decided to go ahead and push forward. I saved enough money to put on the show and get models and make the pieces, rent out the venue. And after that, like, I had almost 100 people come to the show during the pandemic, and I'm like,
that's amazing. For
such a
time as that.
Right. I was very shocked because I'm like, one of my cousins had COVID, and I was like, oh my gosh, like don't try to stress yourself on trying to come. Like it will be on Instagram Live, so I made sure that it was still streamable, and but just to see the amount of people that actually came and supported, and some people even bought a ticket and didn't show up just because they wanted to support, and I was just like, okay, all right. I appreciate you. Yeah. So after that, I was like, okay, what's next? So I just continued to pour my heart into my brand, and then I applied for the Shein X program, and that was during 2020 as well. Like the end of it, a friend of mine had saw it on their page, because I didn't really shop on the website like that because I'm making my own clothes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what other like
That's
designers like.
Yeah, make it. What's the point of buying it?
Yeah,
However,
yeah.
sometimes certain things are worth buying. Because
Right.
sometimes you don't want to copy that.
Exactly.
You know, and sometimes it's just worth having. Or a lot of times, me as a designer, I'm like, hey, this piece is amazing. I'm gonna make it.
Right.
Or like make something similar to it, but still have my own handwriting on it.
Right.
But then it's like, okay, I gotta go buy the fabric.
Exactly.
And I gotta do this. And then it's like, you know what? I'll just buy it.
Exactly. It does start adding up. You're like, okay, I gotta put the whole thing together.
Exactly. You know what?
Yeah, I go through that all the time. But so yeah, my friend told me about it, and I applied, and I heard back probably like less than a week, and did my first collection with them. It came out in 2021, and then it just started going from there, and people were like saying like, hey, I saw somebody wearing your piece. Like I was like, where? And then like people were tagging me in France like wearing it. I was like, this is so cool. Like it's around the world now. Like obviously vintage is around the world. Like that's
amazing.
It's crazy to think about, because a lot of people, when I was growing up, I got picked on a lot because of how I dressed, or because of how I talked, or how I was growing up. And now that they see me in this light, it's like, oh, I didn't know like you knew how to do this, or oh, I didn't know you were interested in that. It's like because you were picking on me, didn't get to know me and stuff. Because I've always like, even before I knew I wanted to be a fashion designer, I just dressed like kind of, I would say off the wall. It was a little off the wall, but it made me happy. It made me feel good. It made me feel confident. So when I make pieces, I want people to feel that same thing. I want them to feel confident. I want them to feel secure. I want them to feel happy. Like when they put on OV, I want them to feel like, I'm cute today. Like I feel good about myself. I don't have to squeeze into anything. I don't have to feel like, you know. So like with a lot of my stuff, I make sure it makes you feel comfortable and confident. And I just continue to let my customers know, like, when you put it on, I want you to be your best self. Like clothes make me happy, so I want you to feel happy as well.
That is beautiful. I like that. So while you were getting picked on for how you dressed, you still felt comfortable and confident within your clothing. So did you being picked on kind of affected later on how you dress? Like did you start changing your mannerisms and your form of dressing?
That's a good question. I felt like I dialed it back a little bit. Like I did feel like I changed during like high school when it was really bad. Like I would cry because I didn't want to go to school, and I felt like people was going to say something about what I was wearing. But I kind of like dialed it back a little bit, and I was like, why am I doing that to satisfy others? And now I don't feel as good, or I don't feel as like, oh, you know, happy and go lucky. So when I got to college, that's when it all came back out again. And that's when everybody was like, oh my God, I love your style. And that's when I started thrifting a lot more and finding cool vintage pieces. Like, I love clothes so much. When you find a piece, you hold on to it. Like, my mom would always try to throw away my stuff. And I'm like, girl, I need that. Why you trying to throw that away?
I have a similar story. My mom, she does not hold on to anything. So as soon as it looks like trash to her, and it may not be trash at all, she'll throw it out. You know, and I'm like, Mom, that is mine. Like, please ask first.
Right.
But back to on this story, the same line. What would you actually say to your younger self that was going through those motions, or somebody that's watching that might experience the same thing right now, where they're being picked on, but they still want to express themselves because that's what makes them happy?
Right. I would say block out the outside noise. Do not listen to what people are saying, because at the end of the day, it's more important about how you feel. And you don't have to pour so much into those people. You have to always make sure that your cup is full, and that you're happy, and that your mental state is at a place of peace and happiness. Because when you start to listen to all that outside noise, you start to, start thinking differently. You start changing the way you originally was, and then you start losing yourself. Like I lost myself a couple of times, and I had to like kind of slow down and take a step back and ask myself, is this how I want to portray to people when I go out? And it wasn't me. It wasn't my full authentic self. So I would say be yourself, be that outgoing person, or be that fun-loving person, or be that daring person. Like, don't be afraid to be you. And I know with social media now and TikTok and Instagram, it's a certain persona that you have to, you know, like keep up, and it's tiring. You know, like when you have to keep up with something that you are not, it's tiring. It is.
You know, so like you said, remain authentic, because that's what comes natural. You don't have to force nothing, and people don't have to cringe looking at you.
And I cringed too when I looked at myself changing, and I was like, that's not me. Like, so then when I switched back over to being happy with who I am, that's when I was able to really showcase like my love for fashion and be expressive with it, and not be scared to, you know, show the world what I'm capable of or who I am as a person. So don't be afraid, you guys. Stay true to you and be your full authentic self.
So about Shein X, what was the steps that you had to take, and how did it develop you?
Oh, that's a good question. So with Shein X program, you apply and they will ask you to like showcase your work. And I was afraid to showcase my work because I didn't have like actual physical garments at the time, except for the fashion show. But I, you know, those were like on the runway and stuff, so I didn't have like good pictures like I thought I did. But I showcased a lot of my renderings, my CADs, and then I showed like a small portfolio that I had developed from college and outside of college, and then I showed like pictures of the clothes I had from the fashion show. So just showing like all the work that you can. I showed that, and then they got back to me and was like, you know, let's give it a try. We'll start with your first collection. They told me how many pieces they wanted me to do. It was very rushed. But it was like, you have to have your CADs done in a week. You have to have your tech pack done the week after that once they're approved. So they do go through your designs and approve them to see what works well for the website and what represents you the best. So they chose like, I think it was 6 looks that they chose, because I had to do 10 CAD designs. So out of those 10, they picked 6, and then I moved forward with the tech packs. And then after that, then the sampling process started, and they show you pictures of the models, the fit models trying it on. You can make your comments like, hey, we need to change this, or this need to be reduced, or what have you. And then after that, they send you a model that's gonna do your e-com shoot and your lifestyle shoot, and you get to approve or not approve of how it looks. And then after that, they put together the production and showcase your work on the website. And I felt like that made me feel like a real designer then. Like once I'm seeing it on somebody's you know, platform and seeing it being produced and selling, I'm like, oh gosh, like I'm a designer. So like it made me even more confident, because like I can do this. Like I'm capable of putting a collection together. I'm capable of putting an idea on paper and it's coming to life. Like it just made me even boost myself up a little bit more. And then like it was also scary though, because it's like I didn't want people to think I, you know, was only designing for Shein. Like I still had my brand outside of them, so I didn't want them to kind of like take over, you know, the brand. But it wasn't like that, because you have your own profile where they actually like showcase you as a designer, an independent designer. So it's not like, oh, you're designing clothes on Shein and it gets lost in all the other pieces. It's like, no, you have your own like section, and they, you know, make sure your picture is up there and make sure your bio is up there and everything. So that made me feel even more relieved. Like, okay, so it's not like I'm getting lost and translation with this.
So would you say that it's kind of similar to Target, where every designer, like even when they have the luxury designers come in, they have like their own section, and even on the website they still have their own section. They have an about me page and stuff like that. That's basically
it's basically like that. And
online,
just not a physical store, which would be cool if they had a physical store.
That would be really good.
I know they do a lot of pop-ups, but it's like Target. And I was actually interested too. I'm like, how do we get to that point where we're like in places like physical stores like Target, or people who or other brands and companies that bring on independent designers and stuff. So I'm still doing my research, y'all. So Target, if you see this, holla at your girls.
So when it comes to pricing your garments, as a designer, it's always hard to find how to price, especially when it's custom. But how do you price with Shein?
So it depends on the fabrications too, and then how complex your garment is. So it's like all the embellishments, the trims and stuff that like adds on to the cost. So like my highest priced item was like $50 because it was so like intricate, and I was using like leathers and stuff like that. And then like my lowest priced item was I think $20, and it was like for a shirt, just a plain like shirt. But they do like have more control over like what goes on sale and stuff like that, so you don't really have control over like what they're putting on sale. So I always try to make sure the pieces that I'm designing won't try to go on sale. But it's like if it's not moving quick enough, then they'll put it on sale, and then it'll sell. But I just found out the garment I had on at the event a few weeks ago, it was sold out at first. And so I guess when I put it on and a lot of people was asking about it, they brought it back in only one size, like the shirt and the bottom. So I guess like when stuff are popular and people are asking about it, they will restock it. So at first it was sold out, but now it's available only in size medium, y'all. So if you want it, it's on there.
That was an absolutely fabulous piece.
Thank you. I loved it. I loved it.
I would wear that for sure.
Yes.
And I can see it, like the way you dress. I can find myself in your stuff.
Oh really?
Yes, I can.
Definitely. I love that. So I want it to be for everybody.
Right.
Like I am very like big on. I want people to wear whatever they want to wear. Like I want you to be like, oh, I want to put on these baggy jeans with a button up and a cute heel. Like I don't care how the outsiders might think it looks. I think it looks cute to me, or I feel like I'm my best self when I put this on. So the fact that you said that you can see yourself, wearing my pieces, that makes me so happy. That warms my heart, because like that's the goal. Like I want you to be like, oh, I can see myself in that. Oh, I would like to wear that. So yeah,
that's beautiful. And I know that you put in your tag bags and your cats and stuff like that, but when you do the sizing on those cats, do the garments come exactly like that, or do they have kind of like a format of what their sizing already is?
So you have to give them the measurements.
Okay.
So yeah, I sit there and measure, like if I already have like a body or a block that I'm used to using, I'll like measure that. And then if I feel like I want my taller girls to wear it, like, because this jumpsuit is pretty long. I'm 5'3", so I wanted like somebody who's 5'6" or 5'7" to still have that length as well. So like I don't want it to be flooding, on them when they're wearing it. So I'll add probably like 1.5 inches to, the outseam and inseam, so it's longer, and but I still make sure it's proportionate everywhere. But I'll probably use like I said a standard block that I have, and just measure from there and add on what I need to add on.
That's really good. What do you love about Shein X?
I love that they feature all types of designers, even people who are just artists. So they'll allow artists to do their renderings and drawings, and they'll put it on ready-made garments. So just they're showcasing all types of creatives. Like this recent, they just dropped some pieces probably about 2 weeks ago as well. of a guy, and he's like a apparel graphic designer, and he put all his graphics on like ready-made pieces. I'm not sure if he selected the ready-made pieces, but I just know all of his graphics and prints were on there, and they do showcase people who are just artists alone and not just fashion designers. So I love that they want to incorporate everybody and not kind of section people off or not recognize other types of creatives. I noticed that they also use like one lady, she was an influencer on TikTok, and they had her come to the Singapore factory to showcase like what they had going on, and they celebrated her and her birthday while she was there.
Nice.
So I just feel like they're like really genuine when they're working with designers. So when I went to Los Angeles, and that was like my first time going to Los Angeles, I was so excited. I was like, I always want to go to LA. And I got there, the staff there, because they have the headquarters in Los Angeles, they were so nice. Like they showed me around the campus, showed me like where everybody worked, and it was just very welcoming. It felt like home, it felt like family. So
like you belong.
yeah, so they're not like excluding, or they're not snobby or stuck up or like real like corporate driven, because like in fashion, like in the corporate world, it's very like white and black. So it's not as like rainbows and butterflies like people would think it is. Like I feel like more so of the startup brands and individual designers are more like flexible, but when you get into corporate like Nike and all of them, is just like a standard that you have to kind of follow.
So it is safe to say that you love it.
Yeah. I like them or whatever. No, I'm kidding.
So we could say that you have some tangible growth since being with them, because how many collections do you have?
So this will be number 4, and I'm thinking I might do another one, but we don't know yet, y'all. Y'all be on the lookout. I don't know yet. But this will be my 4th one, and I did not think I would have that many. I thought it was like a one and done situation, but I guess they like me.
Yeah, that's great, because that means that for one, they love you. The customers love you, obviously, because they're
right.
They won't keep you if nobody's buying.
Exactly.
So that's really, really beautiful. Congratulations on that.
Thank you
And
so
you said
much.
this collection came out 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So it's still there.
It's still available now.
Still available.
Get some extra pieces on there.
Yes. And how long would you say that one collection stays on the website?
It normally stays until it's like all gone. So there's not like a specific date. And even though they have like other designers releasing things, because they have designers release each month. It's all new designers each month throughout the year, but they keep your stuff on there until it sells out. Like I don't think they put like a specific date on it, so I'm pretty sure that the MOQs, or like the amount of pieces that they put on the site, is like 100. So like it's going to stay until all 100 is gone.
Okay, and what is the MOQ?
So MOQ is the amount of quantity that you, like how many pieces you want to have for your collections or for one style. So it's like when you ask your vendors or manufacturers, like, what are your MOQs? They'll tell you, oh, it'll be 100 pieces per color or 200 pieces per style. So it's just how many pieces you're getting of one style.
Okay, and how many do you typically get with Shein X?
With Shein X is 100.
Okay.
We typically do 100 because they don't want to do too much where they're stuck with garments. Like I had that issue when I was doing it on my own, when I had my first like mass-produced piece. I had a women's 2-piece set and a men's 2-piece set, and I had to get 100. And I lived in a very small apartment, so I had boxes like everywhere, and it was so overwhelming. Like I'm like, what am I doing with all this stuff? Like I tried to sell as much as I could, and like I was stuck with it for like, I would say about 3 years, and I just had to keep kind of like reinventing it in a way where I would try to get them to wear it with different things and stuff. And then I actually went on TikTok and like cut up one of the pieces and made it into something else, and then they
That's
started liking
weird.
that. So I'm like, I gotta make this thing shake. I ordered 100 of these, so I gotta get rid of this merchandise. But so yeah, like, so when you're starting out and you're doing mass production, it's just, you want to make sure you're starting with low MOQs, because if you don't have like a large community or following or customer base, you will unfortunately get stuck with having
that's a
back
really great
stock.
tip.
So just make sure you can start with 50 if that's the lowest, but normally it is starting at 100 for some mass production.
And typically it will be more expensive when you do a lower quantity.
Yes.
But if you budget it well and price everything well, you'll make that back.
Exactly. Yep, that is very true.